Welcome to the Grit Reapers, the podcast for aspiring online entrepreneurs that cuts through all the crap in the online business world and dishes out the raw and real truth about what it really takes to have a successful online business. No sugarcoating, no get-rich-quick schemes, just honest advice with a healthy dose of humor and hope.
We're your hosts, Gail and Candace, two online entrepreneurs who've been there, done that, and lived to tell the tale. So if you're looking for straight talk, practical tips, and the occasional reality check to get your online business moving, you're in the right place. Let's get down to business.
Welcome back to all our listeners. Welcome to the Grit Reapers. Today we are doing one of our special episodes. We have Dionne Mincer with us. Hello, Dee.
Hello. Hi, guys.
How's it going?
Hey guys, hey Dee, lovely to have you on the show with us this morning.
Thank you for having me.
These special episodes are, I want to say like some of my favorites, but I actually just love doing this whole podcast. But I find that they are really special episodes because we interview, if you've never listened to one of them, we interview really like everyday people that could be you or me, with extraordinary stories that have happened to them in their lives and have showcased and exhibited some of the most phenomenal inner strength, resilience, all the stuff we talk about in kind of the business world, but in their personal lives. And I know a bit about Dionne's story, and when I called her up and I explained we do this series with people, I just felt like she would be an unbelievable guest to have on our podcast because her story is harrowing. It's extraordinary, but more than anything, it was just the way she coped and dealt with what happened to her was just like mind-blowing. I attended a talk where she told her story, and I was just in the audience with like tears streaming down my face, and just totally inspired by this powerhouse of a woman. So Dee, we are really honored to have you on, sharing such a personal experience with us and our listeners. And I'm going to really just give you the floor to tell your story, and we'll just kind of go from there. If we have questions, or maybe we want to talk about some of the skills and the kind of mindset that got you through it, we'll just go from there. But really, the floor is yours, and take it away.
Thank you, Candace, and thank you again for having me. So I think before I begin with my story, I just want to paint a little picture on who I am and what life was like in our household before this all happened. So I am a hands-on mom is just putting it mildly. I'm your typical A-type personality, likes to be at every single one of my children's extramurals. I never organized lift schemes. I always had to do everything myself. So I would be at every single extramural from beginning to end. I would split myself into 10 places. I would just do it all. Homework, every single thing. I don't let my kids do one drop of homework without me. I'm like very, very involved and very, very hands-on. And I was the fittest and strongest I've ever been in my life. I was doing 2 to 3 strong classes a week. I was like really in good shape and had just started running up hills and was like really just where I wanted to be in my fitness routine and doing it all. So basically I had like a lot of friends had their kids bar mitzvahs, and we were going from one bar mitzvah to another every single weekend. So it was like really busy weeks, lots of homework, lots of cycle tests. It was like towards the end of the year, the kids were really busy studying and stuff. And we were having busy weekends and busy weeks and probably burning the candle from both ends. But weren't we all? Like, we all in this rat race, you know? And I felt amazing. I didn't feel like it was too much. I really, really just felt great. Anyway, so It was on a Thursday morning in a strong class when my heart rate wasn't coming down as usual. I'm quite good with watching my app on my watch, and I just didn't feel great, and my heart rate wasn't coming down. And I actually said to my sister when I stepped off the treadmill, I must be getting sick. So by the Friday, Richard, my husband, was also not feeling well. So he said he would go to the doctor, and basically, if he needed an antibiotic, then I would go to the doctor afterwards. So it was just like a viral flu, and we kind of just kept a low profile, and I didn't go out that weekend. I really was like just keeping just a bit like low. On the Monday, started as any normal day. Monday, the 18th of September, started as any normal day would. We carried on with all extramurals. And in the afternoon, a cousin of mine just came past for a cup of tea, and we were just sitting chatting on the patio, and I started to feel dizzy. And I said to her, I need to go lie down. And as I walked inside, I collapsed. I came to quite quickly and basically didn't really think anything of it. I had like a little cut on my head. She wanted to take me to the hospital, and I laughed it off. I was like, no, don't be ridiculous. I'm going to be fine. And basically just spent the night. Like I thought maybe I had COVID or something when I was feeling flu-y, and there was this gastro post-COVID at the time. And my stomach felt queasy, and I just felt really nauseous. And I just kind of spent the night on the couch, icing my head, but still doing homework with my kids. Like it was, everything must still maintain routine. And that night I remember like it was quite hard to get upstairs. I remember like having no energy, and it was really difficult to get upstairs, but had an early night. And at about 1:30 in the morning, I woke up feeling like I needed to get to the toilet. So I ran to the bathroom, and I just couldn't sit there, and got up to go back into my bed. And as I got up, I held onto the chair. I remember grabbing hold of the chair in my dressing room. And the next thing, I woke up and the chair was on top of me. And now there was blood pouring out of my head. And I actually turned to my husband and said, right now, I think we need to go to the hospital. And I couldn't actually get myself down the stairs. I couldn't get to the car for him to actually drive me to the hospital. It was actually the scariest thing. So I obviously was concussed, and I was vomiting, and I couldn't I thought I'll just crawl down the stairs. I'll bum shuffle down the stairs. I tried everything. There was no way. So we had to call the ambulance, and they came, and we were like, we can just go to Morningside. And they said, no, you're going to Sunning Hill straight away. This is a head injury. We're going to Sunning Hill. So, yeah, we go to Sunning Hill Hospital, and my BP was basically non-existent at the time. And we arrive at Sunning Hill with this head injury, and I'm like kind of laughing it off. I'm like messaging my friends, look where I am, look what I'm doing. I've got this bandage on my head. They're gluing the head back together. And it's kind of like not a big deal. And I just want to go home already and get out of here. Anyway, then in the early hours of Tuesday morning, my heart unexpectedly gives in. My blood pressure is now non-existent, and I start to swell until I'm almost unrecognizable. When an MRI with DA was considered to be too dangerous, the cardiologist, physician, and neurologist were all in discussions about where to next. Nobody actually knew what was going on. And the cardiologist quickly diagnosed me with pericarditis, which is when fluid is sitting in the sac of the heart. And basically, I wasn't stable enough to undergo an anesthetic at the time. So they said to me that they've got to take me in and remove this fluid of my heart, which was struggling to beat at that point, and I have to be awake. I can clearly remember sitting with my arms over this like bar while he took fish gut and fished it through my ribs in order to suction the fluid off my heart. And I don't remember being any pain, but I remember hearing them talking, these doctors all just talking to each other. That's what I clearly remember. And then he goes, oh no, I just punctured the lung. So that was now with a compromised heart, a punctured lung, excruciating pain in my legs, and a heavily swollen body, and completely, the worst thing ever, completely baffled doctors. I still have no diagnosis. Nobody knows what's going on. So I spent the night in ICU, and my family arrived in the morning, and the doctor says she's not in a good way. She's going back into theatre. I had developed compartment syndrome. I don't know if you know what compartment syndrome is, but compartment syndrome is a very painful condition that occurs when the pressure in the muscles builds to a dangerous level, and the pressure decreases blood flow, which prevents nourishment and oxygen from reaching the nerves and muscle cells. So that's why it's swollen up so badly. But this needed to be attended to immediately in order to save my legs. So as they wheel me in for surgery, they tell me you might wake up on a ventilator and dialysis. And I remember clearly thinking, oh, there's no ways, definitely not. Well,
So Dee, at this point, sorry to interrupt you, but like you had said, you know, when you fell, your cousin was at you, you fell and you were like, I'm fine, you know. And then you get to the hospital, you messaging your friends, look where I am, I've got this bandage on my head. At what point, at this point in your story so far, were you starting to get concerned? Like something, like were you scared, or were you still like, it's going to be fine, I'm going to be fine?
don't know why I never felt scared. I never felt scared, and I never ever thought this is going to be a big problem. Even when they said to me, you could wake up on a ventilator, I thought, oh, there is no ways I'm going to wake up on a ventilator. I'll go in, they'll open my legs, and I'll be fine. I never thought, oh yeah, I might lose my legs. I mean, it was definitely the possibility, but I think that my family were hearing the like raw, real stuff, and they weren't sharing everything with me. I think that was one huge thing. But I don't know. I didn't feel like, I don't know. I never felt like, oh, this is the end, or oh my God, am I going to see my husband again? He was saying goodbye to me, not saying goodbye, I might never see you again, but in his mind, knowing that he may never see me again. And I just never saw that side of it. I just thought, I'm going to fight, I'm going to be okay, and I'm going to be fine.
Okay. So your mindset, like from the get-go, was, I'm going to get through.
Yeah.
I just wasn't taking it. It was just not an option for me. It was
Okay.
not something I was prepared to accept.
And you woke up on a ventilator.
So I woke up on a ventilator and dialysis. And
Wow. Both.
yeah, both. And both legs sliced open, top to bottom. So it was the ventilator was probably the darkest part, I would say, and the dialysis of the whole experience. But you know, so the loss of communication was hard. But you know, I just had like this in my mind, I don't have time for this. I really don't have time for this. Like, I've got lots to do, there's lots going on. So I asked my sister to pass me a pen and paper so that I could write. And as my family gathered round to see what I was now going to say on this piece of paper, I started writing, please dress Sophia in long sleeves for the play date, give AJ money.
Your to-do
like
list. You were writing a
to
to-do list while you were on a ventilator. Isn't that just what we do?
And I think that is part of what saved me, because there was no time in my brain to sit and worry about what was going on here. I just needed this ventilator finished, and everybody needed to do the things that I was supposed to be doing. I actually had a birthday party in at my house a few days later for my daughter and 4 of her friends. So that needed to be cancelled, which was a big stress in my mind. I was like really focused on that and really worried about that, which is when I think I realized for the first time what the community actually did for me, because they obviously all took care of the party. That was all had already been cancelled. But in my mind, I was the person who had organized the braid lady who was coming to braid their hair. And I only had her number. And how was anyone going to find her number? I had to phone her and cancel her, you know? So it was what I was focused on. And maybe it was a good thing. Maybe that was what, you know, I think if we sit and focus on negative things and, oh, this is happening to me and how am I going to survive it? But I didn't. I was so worried about this big party at my house and were my kids going to be okay and who was going to help them with their test that was coming up on Friday. And this is all I was thinking about the whole time, you know. And at the point where I felt like at the darkest in my health was the poorest, there I was just trying to focus on staying in control and not giving up this control, this level of control. And, you know, people were amazing. They really just sorted everything out and I actually could rest. And I just felt so guilty and I was so worried. There were people at other schools. How were they going to find out that the party was cancelled? What if they arrived at my house? You know, these were all the things that were going through my mind.
Yeah.
Really quite crazy.
Yeah.
And Dionne, when you are on a ventilator like that, are you fully conscious? You fully conscious of everything going on around you, people talking to you, you just can't talk back?
So it's quite interesting actually, because my husband didn't think that I would be. And he left and he went down to the coffee shop. And when he came back, I was fully conscious and like cross, like, where were you? Where have you been? You know, like, yes, I was fully conscious. I mean, I'm not sure. I think that he thought I was going to be sedated. And maybe there are times where people are, but I was fully conscious.
Wow, that's crazy. Like that, I think I can understand why that's the darkest time because, yeah, you've got this thing basically breathing for you and you can't do anything.
Yeah.
Sure.
And then they take it off and they try and wean you off it and onto. So then after that, I was stuck in like a fishbowl when they took the ventilator out, because then they had to keep oxygen all around my face and try and get me to breathe with it. That was really terrible because that was so claustrophobic.
Sure, Dee.
So then,
and had you got a diagnosis by this point?
No.
You still did not know what had happened?
No, they still didn't know what had happened. They were just trying to save me and save my legs.
Sure.
So, yeah, so it was just the support that I had at this time was also unbelievable. I mean, I didn't even know what was going on, but downstairs there was people in the coffee shop, full rooms of people downstairs, and people were praying and they had prayer groups going on online all over the world. 500 people were on a prayer group for me all over the world. People were dropping jumping castles for my kids because now we were it was now school holidays. So people were entertaining my kids. I think my kids had sometimes 2 play dates in one day. I must say my kids were like the happiest they've ever been. And I think for me to just have my mind at ease and know that they were taken care of was also like one huge factor that really played a huge role in my recovery.
Can you walk us through kind of the rest of the story, Dee?
So then basically my legs, every few days I had more and more operations just to try, because now what had happened was that my legs were open and they couldn't close them. Every single time I went in for another operation, they closed them slightly more and slightly more and slightly more. And the whole time they kept saying to me, we're going to need skin grafts. We'll take skin from somewhere else to close the balance, but let's just keep trying to close them as much as we can. So we never ever knew if they were going to be able to close them or not close them. And I had a very big miracle. The one morning I went in for another just routine operation. And when I woke up, they said to me, and Richard had spoken to the surgeon, my husband had spoken to the surgeon the night before, and he had said to him, we're really not out the woods. We've still got multiple more operations. We've still got months of skin grafts ahead of us. We've got a long way to go. And I just had a huge miracle, and I woke up from the op and they had actually managed to close my legs. So I never ever had skin grafts. I was really, really, really lucky. And I just I went through lots and lots of procedures in the hospital where I had lung aspirations. I battled with that lung that they punctured in the beginning. And I went through a lot of really difficult times. But I never ever, something just said to me, you've got to keep smiling. You've just got to smile. You've got to keep a happy face on, whether it was for the other patients in the ward, whether it was for my family, whether it was just to make me feel happy.
Yeah.
I don't know what it was, but I kept a smile on my face every single day. And I just knew, I'm not giving up. This is going to be fine. I'm going to be fine. And I went through extensive amounts of physio every single day. And then I also had an amazing story. One day I was in the middle of a physio session and a stranger knocked on the door and said, would I mind if he came to speak to me? And he had gone through the same operation as me on one of his legs. And he showed me his scar and he was walking and he said to me that he's just run the Paris Marathon. And I just thought, you know what, I've got to get out of this bed. And I said to my physio there and then, can I try take some steps? And she said, let's do it. And we took steps and they didn't know if I'd ever walk again. And I walked, and with that was, I got out of hospital in October, into a rehab in November. And by January, I was running down Rivonia Road. That was it. I was not taking over an answer. I was doing it. So, yeah.
And so Dionne, did you ever get a diagnosis?
So at one point in hospital, they came in to diagnose me with, I remember I was upside down in a physio session, and they came in and said to me, oh, by the way, you've got something called polycythemia, which is a very rare blood cancer. So that was a really big shock to me. I was alone. I didn't have any of my family with me. And it was like, to be told that you've got cancer.
While you're upside down in a physio session. Yeah. That's crazy.
So that was quite a big thing and a big trauma. And I probably one of the biggest traumas I experienced in hospital. But she was like, we're not dealing with it now. You're going to get well. You're going to get out of hospital. And when you're well enough, you will go and see an oncologist. And I decided, I'm very much like that. I do things, I'm not like looking at a big picture type of person. I will tackle each task daily, and I deal with that with every element of my life. So I just knew that I was just going to get through what I needed to get through. And when that moment came, I'll focus my mind on worrying about it. Because if you sit and stress about it, there's nothing you can do about it. And anyway, she had said to me, the levels are so low and you don't even need to take medication for it now. Just get well and don't worry about it. And that is what I did. I just didn't focus on it. It wasn't going to be a big thing that it was going to pull me down. I needed to keep going. I needed to keep focused. I needed to stay on path. And that was what I was going to do. So when I did get well enough and I did go see the oncologist, and he ran multiple bloods and sat quietly in front of me reading through every single report while I sat with bated breath for his answer, he looked at me and he said, you don't have cancer. You don't have polycythemia. There is actually nothing wrong with you. Go and live your life and just be well.
So that is crazy. And the other thing I was really like, okay, so what you just said now, I think is a great lesson for us as online business owners, just bringing it back to the whole thing, is what you just said about you don't look at the big picture. You do things that need to be done today, and then you move on to the next thing and the next thing. And while I believe as business owners, we need to know what we're working towards, but so often we're so busy worrying about stuff that we can't actually control or other things. And when you actually just sit down and you be like, okay, right, I'm in a launch now. I need to do this, 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 and this, and get it done. Like, don't be always stressing about what could be. like deal with those things when they come up. So I loved that. Definitely. I think it's a good way for I work like that as well. I do stress a bit about things going forward, but I try not to. But also I'm so fascinated when you said when you had fallen the second time when they had to call the ambulance and you couldn't get down the stairs. Like, what was that? Would your body just not move? Were you just so weak? Were you just
I
like,
just didn't. So my blood pressure was literally non-existent. And I promise you, no matter what I did, I could not do it. And I'm a strong person. I'm not interested in help.
can
I
see.
don't take help. I just don't ask for help. I never ask for any favors. I like to do everything myself. I'm a control freak. But I couldn't get myself down those stairs. Nothing I could do. And as much as I tried and tried, I thought I'll just bum shuffle. I'll just pull myself and move my bum and just get myself down. But I couldn't. I actually couldn't.
Wow.
And
Amazing.
you know, it's like I still keep coming back to, which is I think the thing for me that is just like, it's like I almost feel like gobsmacked about, is that just throughout this, you just had this belief like you were going to be okay. Like, and I mean, we're speaking about like, it feels so intense and so hectic, like what happened to you, and scary, you know, hearing a doctor say, oops, I just punctured her lung, or having fish gut fed through your ribs into your, you know, like we're not waking up ventilated. These are like intense experiences that I imagine would just invoke a lot of fear in people, you know, and it's just phenomenal to me how like you had this unwavering belief and a mindset that like this was just not going to be your life, like you were going to make it out of this, you know. Where do you think that comes from? Have you always been like that your whole life?
So I think I've always been the type, like my husband hates me when I'm sick because I won't go to the doctor and I don't like to take medicine and I'm going to be fine, I'm going to be fine, I'm going to be fine. So he always says I'm the worst patient. But I just think that I don't ever like admitting defeat. Like I just don't want to be, I don't know what it is. I don't know if it's like something inside me that likes to just know that I'm strong and I'm going to be fine and I don't want to portray this element of weakness, or I'm not entirely sure exactly where it comes from. I wish I could explain where it came from or how I smiled through it all, or just, I wish I had the answers, but I don't really know. But I just think that the minute you give in to the belief that something is going to, that you're prepared to accept it, then you just give up. And that wasn't an option for me. I was never going to give up.
I mean, it's funny because you said in the beginning, like I'm such an A type, and you've said multiple times in our discussion that you're like a control freak, and I mean, I think in some ways, you know, a lot can be said for those of us who like don't find it easy to ask for help, and we always like to do things ourselves, and I think we can in some ways make our lives much more difficult than they need to be, you know.
Well, I've definitely learned that. My kids are now in life schemes.
Okay. Well, that was going to be my next question. What have you taken from it? But I do think in a way, it having that belief, like, so in other words, while these things can not always be the best qualities and can have an impact on us in this situation, it actually, thank God you were like that, because you were so gung-ho and like convinced that you were not going to like surrender to this. You were going to be fine. You were going to come out of it. I mean, I think that thank God you actually had that, because it clearly had something to do with your recovery.
Yeah. And I think again, Dionne, we, you know, so many people in the online space, so many coaches and stuff say to you, like, you have to believe that you already have what you want. You have to embody the person that you want to be. Like, you can't be this person aspiring to be this person. You have to almost act like that. And I feel like that is very much what you did. You knew you were going to be okay. and this was like an inconvenience to you, and
Yeah.
you just needed to get through it so that you could be okay, because you knew you were going to be okay. And I think that I find that difficult. I've always found that concept of like what you want, start behaving like that. So yeah, that's really interesting. I think that's amazing. So yeah.
So the diagnosis that my cardiologist thinks, I mean, no one really knows exactly what happened, but the cardiologist thinks that I had a virus, probably COVID, and my body built up fighter cells to fight this virus and basically built up too many of them. And it was caused something called a cytokine storm, where
Okay.
the body actually lands up attacking, and it attacked
Attacks
my heart,
yourself.
which in
Yeah.
turn turned my blood to sugary syrup, which filled me with
Muscles.
clots. Yeah, just I filled up with clots.
Wow.
Dee, when you tell your story now, Dee, do you hear it and sometimes think like, oh my God, I'm lucky to be alive? Or do you?
Yes.
Yes, you do.
There's
Okay.
so much gratitude. I'm grateful every single day. I found myself looking at my children, just walking, just even taking a step. There's so much gratitude. I'm saying thank you all day, every day. I really am just so grateful.
Jessie, you hinted now at like that was one of the things you took out of this experience, which is actually allowing people to support you and help you. Are there any others that stand out for you? Like, so the gratitude clearly for what you have and how blessed you are, the fact that you can allow people to help you, and being a superwoman, you can still be a superwoman if someone's doing a lift for you.
Yeah, exactly.
Are there anything else? Do you like any other profound
I
takeaways you have
think
from this whole
just maybe
experience?
not just sweating the small stuff, like just, life is actually bigger than just worrying about all this rubbish that we really focus on. It's just not important. And I think that's been a big thing for me. I'm just not prepared to get into it. So, just really not focusing on the little nitty gritty rubbish that actually means nothing. And that there are more important things in life to focus on. And put your focus where it's necessary, basically.
Yeah, yeah.
Amazing.
Your family, like from growing up. So I know
Well, we
you
lived on the same road.
we lived
growing up.
we actually lived like 2 houses away from each other.
Yeah.
Growing up. So I've like known Dionne pretty much my whole life. So I know that your nuclear family is big, she's one of like 4 sisters. And then she has an extended family here that is also big. So like when all of them go away, it is like a crew is going. But Dee, I think that you speak a lot about like how you had your family around, you like Richard, and you such a loving husband. You got 3 children. There was the community showing up, delivering the meals, people like WhatsApping and praying and being there for Richard and your mom and your dad. And can you talk a little bit about the role that support had in this experience, but maybe not even only for you, but maybe even for like Richard and your parents, your sisters, like any thoughts you have on that?
So my family were unbelievable. I think that they kept a lot from me, which obviously was a huge thing for me in terms of keeping a positive mindset. They didn't tell me everything that they heard from the doctors. And I'm one of 4 girls, and then we've got 3 girl cousins. There's actually 7 girls, and we're very close. And we all live in South Africa, which is really an amazing thing.
Unusual.
And yeah, it's really unusual. So I had my cousins. My husband was unbelievable. He stepped in. He did everything that needed to be done and took all my orders, because I had to give lots of orders from the bed. And the community were just amazing. They were dropping meals off for him. They were dropping pajamas for my kids, because now the season changed and they didn't have pajamas. And they were, as I said, dropping jumping castles for them during the holidays and taking them on play dates. And my kids were really amazing. They were unbelievable. And just the community, I didn't actually realize what an amazing community we have here. But if you've got support, you feel like you being held, and then you can just conquer it all. And I think I was lucky also that it was school holidays, because I think if it was my kids, I think I actually would have probably tried to do homework with them via Zoom, I'm telling you, because
From
I think I would have
ICU on your ventilator.
yeah,
Jeez.
literally.
So you never felt alone, Dee? You never
I
felt
never
alone?
felt, I was never alone. There was people all the time. In fact, at some points when it was visiting hours, I had friends sneaking in. I'm like a very law-abiding, like hate breaking the rules kind of person. I used to say, please, can you get out? Even Richard used to come and say, I'm just going to pray next to her bed here. And I used to say, no, you cannot be here now. You need to leave. But people were amazing. They were unbelievable, really amazing. I was lucky.
Yeah.
An amazing story. Wow.
Yeah, it's truly, I mean, when I, as I said, I heard Dionne give this talk, she had like a there was like a projector, you know, behind with pictures, and you kind of saw these these pictures and screenshots or whatever they were of her in her hospital bed, you know, and then, you know, standing with that walking, what do they call it?
Frame.
Yeah,
Walking
walker.
frame. Yeah. And I mean, they're very impactful pictures, especially when it's someone that you know. And then it kind of went through this, and it was all with music, and, you know, and at the end you just see like Dionne there, and there she is, and she's like going for a run, and it was just the most profound thing to hear your story, like, you know, in real life. But as I keep saying, Dee, you know, and that's why we're really happy that you came on today, because I think that so many of the characteristics that you displayed throughout this whole experience are really like just the epitome of having like resilience and determination, you know, and how much your mindset and what you think and believe, and having the right people around you, how much that impacts on what you do with your life, you know, and how you take and manage the waves that come and hit you, you know. So yeah, just thank you so much, Dee.
Thank you for having me and letting me share my story.
Yeah. We
Thank
will,
you.
because Dionne is actually, this is like one of her stories, you know. It is a very hectic story, but it is actually just one of her stories. Dionne is also an incredible entrepreneur, you know. She's a business owner. I think she's had several businesses. And I know, Dee, do you maybe want to even just tell us? I know you've recently just launched a new business.
So yeah, it was very exciting. Came out of hospital and I thought I've got to focus my mind on something as well, and it's time to start something new. My previous business partner immigrated, so our business had to close down, and I just decided to start something new. So we've launched, I've always been in the hair care industry for many, many years, worked for L'Oreal, and then had my own salon for many years. And we've just launched a range of hair treatments. So it's single application hair treatments. So you can use a different one every time you wash your hair. And yeah, hopefully we will be in store soon. So
Yeah.
With beautiful packaging and your branding, you know, Gail. I mean, I laughed. Gail tagged me in a post last night, which I properly laughed out loud reading. About this Zach, right? Zach, who has a program on paid ads, and he posted the most hilarious thing about how he feels like he wants to burn down his website and rebuild it, and so he knows that there are probably some important projects he should be focusing on, you know. But it made me think of branding, because I'm always like, it's my go-to, and I'm like avoiding shit. I just rebrand stuff. But why I'm saying this is because actually I noticed Dionne's branding on her new products, which is like stunning colors, and it's like funky, and I was like, and she's, I mean, look at that hair, Gail.
I know. I was going to say, now it all makes sense.
The curls and oh my God, Dee. Well, we will drop all of Dionne's details, like where you can find her new business, if you want to check out her hair products, if you want to just connect with Dionne, if you want to learn more about her and her story. We'll drop all her links either below this video or somewhere in our show notes, so that you can find her. And again, just from us, guys, thanks so much, Dee, for coming on.
Thank you. It was good to meet you, Gail.
Thank you, and thanks for coming, dear. It was lovely to meet you, and so lovely and inspiring to hear your story. Candace
Thank
told
you.
me you had an amazing story to tell, and you really, really do. So thanks for coming on.
Thank you so much. Thanks, guys.
Okay.
Bye.
Bye.
Yeah.